a few weeks. I'm rested, married, and ready to talk video games. Whattup viewers, what up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, June 10th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Lots of stuff happened because we're in the midst of what everyone is colloquially calling not E3. But yes, Summer Games Fest was this week. Jeff Keighley's E3 stand-in went off without a hitch this week. I'll also be talking a little bit about what happened last week, even though I wasn't around to talk about it, so hopefully it's all still news to you. But like I said, Summer Game Fest has started. Jeff Keighley did a 2-hour presentation, much like he does for Gamescom, and yeah, it very much looked like one night live, like he does for Gamescom. Only he did it for E3 this year. I was actually pretty surprised by how much he was able to stuff in, given the kind of short notice that there wasn't going to be an E3 this year. So in just a few short months, he was able to organize quite a lot going on. I think there's always kind of mixed opinions on, a lot of talking heads and hearing from the developers, I think is really cool. I like to hear from them from time to time. And so talking about, talking to the devs is always fun. But as far as like the content and the games, I found that all really interesting as well. The games, I'm not going to cover all the titles that were kind of talked about, but I will have a link down below so you can watch the whole 2-hour presentation. But I will talk about a couple that caught my eye. One of the first ones was Witchfire. It is a dark fantasy shooter. Kind of reminds me of maybe like a modern Hexen. Hexen was the old kind of like Doom clone, but it was fantasy based. So it was really looking cool. So and it was a first-person shooter, and yeah, I just really like the world, and kind of dark fantasy is kind of in for me right now. So I thought that was really cool. Next title that kind of caught my eye was Stormgate. I like RTSs. I grew up on Blizzard titles and real-time strategy games. So the fact that ex-Blizzard developers are developing sounds like co-op focused real-time strategy game. I think a lot of real-time strategy developers have been trying to crack the kind of the co-op nut for quite some time. And I think, StarCraft 2 has really good co-op modes, but it hasn't really been the primary focus of an RTS kind of from the ground up. And so hopefully these ex-Blizzard devs have figured out how to get kind of co-op RTS up and running. I was excited to see more information, or at least gameplay, for Darktide. That's the Warhammer 40k version of Vermintide, still coming from Fat Shark. The game launches in September, on September 13th, so really looking forward to that as well. Got to see some really cool gameplay, so I was excited to see about 2 minutes of gameplay there. So yeah, I'm really excited. As you know, I'm a huge Warhammer fan, so any of that kind of stuff, and really gets me hyped. And then this is kind of like a Left 4 Dead shooter, so I'm really excited for it. Next title was kind of more of a stinger and a teaser for a title that's not going to be out until next year. But the Layers of Fear is the next game from the Bloober team. I was kind of hoping for maybe some more medium stuff, but they are going back to their roots with another Layers of Fear. This one is just called Layers of Fear. I know they did Layers of Fear 1 and 2 so far. So I think this one's going to be more... I think I read something about it's going to be more of an anthology rather than like a continuous story, so it could be interesting to do there. Last but not least, Jeff Keighley had Neil Druckmann on, the president and co-founder of Naughty Dog, and while they did have a little bit of their presentation spoiled, the only spoiler that we kind of got ahead of Summer Game Fest, which was quite surprising, was a Last of Us One Remake, so that was leaked a little bit early, but this was made from the ground up. You can see there are vast differences in kind of the character models and the graphical fidelity. So it was just excited to see kind of a Last of Us remake. There was a little bit of kickback this week about Last of Us only being a 9-year-old title. So people were saying the price was too high. and all that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of excited to get Last of Us. I didn't play the Last of Us remake for the PS3 PS4 transition, but if you can put it on the PS5 and make it look better, hey, and people will buy it, then more power to you. Another thing they did was they had Troy Baker and Ashley Burch come onto come onto the stage and talk about participating in playing the remake and like participating in the TV show, which I'm very excited about. Seeing some more content from that, so pretty excited to that show is up and running and continuing to work out. And then the PvP that people were expecting for Last of Us Part 2 is now being spun off into its own game. The only thing that was kind of shown for this was a single still from the game, or not even a still, just like a concept art. So anybody who was looking to that it was going to be like a free update for Last of Us Part 2, that you would get the PvP mode, that's now being spun off, and hopefully it's like a bigger game and has a little bit more time and effort put into it. I only know a handful of people who actually played the Last of Us PvP mode, but it looked fun, and I played it a little bit too back in the day. So yeah, so that's all being spun off. So lots of Last of Us news, and I'm always excited to see that. But there was a ton of stuff covered in Summer Game Fest, so if there were any other titles that you thought looked cool that I didn't talk about, feel free to leave a comment down below and we can discuss it. Moving right along, also part of E3 or Summer Game Fest was the Devolver Digital. I haven't watched the 25-minute presentation. I always love the Devolver Digital over the top, kind of biting their thumb at regular E3 stuff. I think I've seen the first minute or two actually, where they're just making fun of marketing and all these kind of trends and buzzwords. But I love them over the top Devolver Digital. I used to hate them because I thought they were making too much of something making fun of too much of something I love. But now that I've been in the industry longer, I really love their kind of like poking fun at the expense of over the top showcases, and Nina Struthers is my savior. So looking forward to finally sitting down and watching that sometime soon. But they always sprinkle in a few games within their showcase. The one that caught my eye was Card Shark, which I think I've seen trailers for before. But you kind of play as this like medieval, kind of card manipulator, and you kind of palm cards, and you kind of see how it's a gameplay feature to kind of like manipulate the deck and stacking decks and earning money without getting caught. So it seems like a really cool concept for a card game. I like playing card games, as Hold'em being one of my favorite card games. So looking forward to that game as well. Moving right along, like I said, I was gonna go back a week. So a week ago we had the PlayStation State of Play. I wasn't here, I was in New York, so now I'm deciding to talk about it now. Was excited to see that Stray, the cyberpunk cat game where you play as a cat in a cyberpunk universe, has a upcoming release date that is actually pretty soon. It's coming out July 19th. So I'm looking forward to playing that, and I think a lot of other people are too. Who doesn't want to be a adorable orange tabby cat? So looking forward to that. There was a lot of PSVR stuff in there, especially around PSVR 2. I'm looking forward to Saints and Sinners 2. I have yet to play the first one, but I really like kind of the plot and the story from what I know of Saints and Sinners 1. So, and I'm just excited to see another, Walking Dead VR game, because I know that one was really well received and reviewed really well. So I'm looking forward to Saints and Sinners 2, and I've been excited for it for quite some time. But other than that, there was a lot of other PSVR 2 stuff, including a Horizon, like a Horizon Zero Dawn kind of Horizon. That one was called Call of the Mountain, I think, or Call of the Wilds. Horizon was the Horizon PlayStation VR game. I haven't played any of the Horizon games, but I'm very much looking forward to potentially purchasing PlayStation VR end of this year or early next year. And I might actually pick up and play a Horizon game and it'd be pretty funny if the first one I play is the VR game. So interesting stuff there. Last but not least, there was like a small indie game called Seasons that I thought looked really good, and just kind of had a really cool vibe about like taking pictures, and it seemed like it was about kind of like the world is ending, so you have to like determine what the final kind of time capsule for the world is going to contain, and you're like this photographer going around this idyllic village. So that had a really cool tone and kind of a melancholy feel to it. So that was a game that I thought looked really cool. If there's anything at the PlayStation State of Play that you think I forgot to talk about, feel free to leave a comment down below. Moving right along, we had games that actually released this week. The Quarry is the spiritual successor to Until Dawn. I have a little bit of hesitancy calling a game from the same studio within the same genre a spiritual successor. But this is very much in the same vein as Until Dawn. It's by Supermassive, the same developers as Until Dawn, and it's the next game. It's not a dark picture anthology game, so I'm curious if those will continue going forward. I think they've already slated like 2 or 3 more dark picture anthology titles, so I'm looking forward to those as well. But the star-studded cast of The Quarry, I'm hoping is going to lead to a very good kind of slasher adventure game that I can play with my friends. It is currently at a 79 Metacritic, so hopefully that star power keeps it going strong. And they've always continued to kind of improve on the cooperative experience, because they know that people are gonna get drunk and play Scary Movie the game with friends. So I always enjoy seeing what the kind of co-op developments are in each of the successive Supermassive games. If you've already picked up The Quarry, feel free to leave a comment down below, and we can tell me what you think of it. Moving right along, E3 2022 isn't even over yet, but there's already contention for E3 2023. The ESA has already come forth saying that they will have a physical and digital presence at E3 next year. So E3 will be happening next year. The official ESA-driven E3 event will be taking place. But Jeff Keighley has also said that Summer Games Fest, he'll also be leading a Summer Game Fest in 2023 as well. Whether or not these are going to actually overlap and be at the same time remains to be seen. But even if they are, I can definitely see how having more possibilities, more developers, more publishers, having more options, I think just makes the table a little. Hopefully we see more people and more content coming out of E3 or the E3 timeframe. Moving right along, also happening in the games industry, there's a report slash kind of rumor started up that God of War Ragnarok will be releasing in November of 2022. I think that the fact that State of Play just happened just a week ago and God of War wasn't present means maybe it isn't, but these rumors kind of are building up and piling up. So if it is coming out, they're going to have a very short marketing campaign for it, but I don't think they really need a really big marketing push because God of War #1 was really well received, and I think that a lot of people already kind of know, and Sony has kind of left breadcrumbs about the release of this game sometime soon, but I didn't have it on my 2022 bingo card, so I'd be interested if this actually comes this year. But the fact that we haven't seen anything for it and State of Play just happened, I don't know, I'm kind of on the this isn't happening side of things, but these reports are building up, so I'd be curious to see what they do, whether or not this game actually comes this year. But I bet it's on Sony's slate, and someone's driving that. They want that God of War money, so it'd be interesting to see if that actually hits this year, or if it was delayed. Maybe it was supposed to come out earlier this year, in the same kind of April time window that the last one dropped, but it got delayed 6 or 7 months, and now it's dropping in November. Maybe that's maybe a little bit closer to the truth there, but We'll see whether or not this shakes out, and let me know if you believe that it's actually going to come this year. Elden Ring is a long and well-filled game, and in order to provide aid to the players, there is an official strategy guide coming out for Elden Ring. I don't even know how you could print everything that you need to know on like how to beat a boss or strategies or where things are, because there's just so much stuff stuffed in the game. But somehow they figured out a way to do it, and over the course of 2 books and over 1,000 pages, you can get the Elden Ring strategy guide, which is actually sold in 2 parts. I think the first part comes out like June, and the second part comes out in September. So yeah, I just think it's fascinating that they're actually printing a official strategy guide. Hopefully, there's lore tidbits as well. You can kind of deep dive and look into it, but I'm interested in this strategy guide, even though I'm 80 to 90% through the game, so won't need it too much. But I think it'd be pretty interesting to see kind of what I missed, as well as like what the official strategies for how to beat some of these bosses are. Should be pretty interesting there. But really big, 1,000 pages. It's going to be quite a tome, so looking forward to that. Netflix of gaming. This entire week, Netflix has been doing their Geeked Week, where they talked about the Cyberpunk anime and Dota. But they also had their Geeked Week presentation today on Friday was dedicated to gaming. So they talked about the actual video games that they have coming out. They have a Shadow and Bone RPG that's coming out. Very narrative driven, and I kind of like the world in Shadow and Bone, so looking forward to see what they do with that. Also, the art style looked really cool for the little still that they have for that. There was also a tile like strategy game called Desta. I didn't quite know what to make of it, but the little blurb I read about it made it sound pretty interesting. They're also building I poke fun at it, but the the board game from the Queen's Gambit is going to be present in Netflix's streaming service. No, they're making they're making a chess game, so you can play chess competitively online via this Netflix streaming service. But it seems like there's a little bit like more to it. There's like strategy and different players, and you got to learn from each of them. So it kind of seems like a way to teach someone how to play chess before they actually like dive in. So look kind of fun with the Queen's Gambit characters. So I'm kind of interested to see what they do there. I also haven't messed around too much with the Netflix gaming sector yet, but it's there and it's growing apparently. So I'm be interested to see when they start getting their own more and more of their own content on there, whether or not that becomes more and more enticing to people who are kind of cutting Netflix out to get their own streaming service, get the other streaming services. I think Netflix used to be number one, and I think they're slowly dropping to, at least in my friend group, to lesser priority. So be interested to see if gaming is the thing that kind of pushes them back up to the top. Moving right along, there was even more presentations this week. The Day of the Devs came on right after Summer Game Fest ended, and this was led by Double Fine, and it had just a little bit more of an indie focus and a little bit less time. It was like 45 minutes, and they talked to a couple of devs, I thought it was really interesting. There was a game in there called Escape Academy. It was designed by people who actually design escape rooms, but they digitized their escape room building experience. So looked like a pretty fun game that I'm looking forward to. There was another one that caught a lot of viral attention called Time Flies, when the developer came on, he kind of talked about like the fleeting nature of life. So he had a really kind of, again, melancholy outlook, but he wanted to kind of give people the sense of like, yeah, the fleetingness of life. And so you play as a fly, and you have kind of a couple objectives, and you only live as long as like the life expectancy of a person in that country, because I guess you register with whatever country you're in. So Yeah, it has a really simple art style. I don't know if it was a single person developer or if it was just the one guy talking about it, but it looked pretty interesting, and I know that it caught a lot of attention on the internet. So time flies. Also, I think the I think there's a cool URL for it. It was like timeflies.buzz or something. So if you just go there, you can learn more about the game. So yeah, there was a couple other titles in Day of the Devs. It was good to kind of see that stuff uh, take center stage outside of like the summer game, the traditional summer game fest stuff. So and this is something that they do every year at E3. So it was good that that still had a platform for that to happen. So and last but certainly not least, this week there was a Lord of the Ring survival game announced, which I thought was a really cool kind of blend of IP and genre that I was really looking forward to. Um, I've been I feel like I'm slowly becoming more and more addicted to kind of survival games. Having put several almost 100 hours into V Rising, and all the time we put into the forest and stuff like that. So really big survival fan. And this one takes place with the attached IP that is nearest and dearest to my heart, Lord of the Rings. So yeah, it's called Return to Moria. Apparently, it takes place in the Fourth Age. After the movies is the Fourth Age. So these are these are dwarves apparently returning to Moria. I don't know if the Balrog. I mean, the Balrog's been slain, so there's no Balrog down there. But I would assume that you would dig deeper and you would find, I don't know, Balrogs or other baddies down there. So, but for the most part, you're just trying to build up kind of the halls of Khazad-dûm again in Moria, and it looked really interesting. I'm a little bit survival game tired out right now, but I assume when this launches in spring of 2023, that'll be right back into it. So yeah, I'm totally looking forward to this and very excited that this is happening. So so yeah. Whew, that was quite a lot to walk through. There was so many stuff and so many games that were announced this week and even launched this week that I didn't talk about. So if there's anything you feel I forgot, feel free to leave a comment down below. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. Bye.